My name is Getachew. I'm 16 years old and I'm a poet and activist from Oakland, California. My favorite quote of all time is, "The role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible." And so me being a poet, that's what I try to do with everything I write. Whether that actually is a poem or an opinion piece or just a story. And I always try to put that feeling of purpose and drive behind everything I do. The second I learned to read, I just was reading all of the time. I remember my first grade teacher would get mad at me because I had a book under my desk all the time, and instead of paying attention to class, I'd always just be reading under the desk. And so one day I realized, I don't really remember how, but I just realized I don't just have to consume writing, I can also create that. And then from then on, I was just always a writer. I think I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family that really valued reading. And I also went to a school that had a really great library with a librarian that cared for me all the time and was finding me new books to read. And so I think seeing how much joy I found from reading and from both the written and spoken word is what inspired me to start being a writer. The time that I really thought to myself, I know my voice, was I think the first time that I performed. I think I was probably 10 years old. And I was performing a poem that makes me cringe really hard whenever I think about it. But I did it, and people told me they loved it, and I was able to get on a stage and force people to listen to me for a couple minutes. And that feeling of owning that space and of being able to command the narrative in that moment, I think was the moment that I really found my voice. My biggest piece of advice, and I say this all the time to anybody who's trying to find their voice, is to first find the thing that you care the most about, whether that's what gets you the most angry, or what makes you the happiest, or makes you the most passionate, and then find the thing that you're best at. And for me, that was always writing, and figure out how to intertwine them. And so for me, what I was best at was always writing, and what always made me super passionate was telling my story and my family's story, and people like me, and so they happen to coexist really well for me. My proudest moment so far happened actually a couple months ago. I host monthly open mics for other teenagers in my city in Oakland, and at the end of the open mic, this girl came up to me and she told me that she had never performed or read her work anywhere before that, and that she had been inspired to do it because she had seen me doing it before. And so in that moment, I realized that, I'm not just saying words to open space when I perform, that there are people watching, and that actually is changing people's lives. And I think that's the proudest moment I've ever had. There's this attitude of survival of the fittest and just take care of yourself. And it's this really individualistic mindset. And I kind of hate that because it keeps us from being compassionate, and it keeps us from helping each other as much as we should. And the world has more than enough resources for everybody to live comfortably, healthily, and happily. And I just wish the world would stop being so individualistic and start not being afraid to care for each other. My mom, I think, inspires me the most. She's the smartest person I know and the hardest working person I know, most creative. Sounds like I'm raving, but it's the truth. My mom never fails to cheer me up when I'm down. She always makes me laugh when I really don't want to laugh. Because I think we've all been there where we're, had a really bad day and we're feeling really dramatic and really into our sadness, and we let it envelop us. And I'm just really moody and not trying to stop being moody, and she just messes with me until I'm laughing again. I think all artists inspire me, and anybody who I've ever seen touch a stage inspires me. I love reading poetry, watching poetry, and music too, musicians. Beyonce, I feel like that's for a lot of people, but the way that she creates for herself without really worrying about what repercussions are going to come of it or what people think, that inspires me a lot.